Here we're going to take a look at reducing the size of our video. Now I'm not talking primarily here about the video length, although we're going to have to touch on that too. I'm more concerned with the physical size, no different really from resizing a still image. Now that process of scaling the video down isn't going to be a lengthy process, so let's combine that with a little bit of 3D animation with video. To make a start, I've just added a few still images to the slide list here, but we're going to be doing most of our work over the seascape. In other words, I'm going to bring these two videos down and we're going to place them over the top, make them small, have one playing in the foreground, then spinning round in a 3D fashion to reveal the other one on the other side. This is another of those times where we may wish to use pencil and paper just to think through the animation we're about to create, but it's by no means essential, of course. What we could do is do the whole thing on the fly within the objects and animation screen. In other words, think it through as we do it. Let's try it that way just for a change. Let's take a look at the two videos we've got here. If I highlight the video, it would be nice to be able to see the length of the video. Well, in actual fact we can do that. There's a setting within PicturesToExe which shows the length of a media file, but it's not turned on by default, and I'm never really sure why. So if you want to see the length of a video when you highlight it, down on the bottom bar, go to your settings, preferences, and in the toolbars down the bottom, tick the box that says duration of a media file. Now you can see here that the kangaroo with the joey is 20 seconds in length. The other one is 19 seconds in length. Now both of those videos are going to be longer than I really require. So we've got to do three things with both of these videos. We want to physically reduce the size because we know we're starting off 1920 1080 and we want the video much smaller. We know we've got to optimize the video, but at the same time we're going to need to reduce the video length if we want to lessen the weight of the video within our slideshow. But at this point in time I don't know how long I need for these two videos because I've not done the planning over the background yet, which we're going to do within the objects and animation screen on the fly. So let's not worry about the video length just at the moment. Let's just reduce the size and maybe optimize the video, and we'll think about the length a little bit later. Right click, let's choose convert video clip. The option we're going to need is right down at the right hand bottom corner. Tick the box to resize. There's the source size, the original size on the left. We don't get a free rein here to make any size we wish. We've got just 4 set values we can choose from. Now I'm going to drop down to 1024:576. That's not going to adjust the aspect ratio of the video at all. All I need to do now is to hit the little arrow there, and it will not only reduce the physical size, but it's also going to optimize the video as well. Now once the first one was completed, I went ahead and did exactly the same thing. So we should have two videos, 1024:576. Let's remove those completed videos and we'll go back to our slide list. And we're going to see two more videos here now, and if I can increase the size of them just a little bit, here's a little tip. Once we've located where we're working from, if you hit Control G, it will get rid of the file tree. Control G will bring it back, but it gives us the opportunity to make these a little bit bigger, and we can clearly see which are the converted videos as opposed to the originals. So there's an original. We can see it's 1920 1080, 19 seconds. There's our converted one, exactly the same length of video, but we've now got 1024:576. So let's import these two into the image we're going to be working on. Just before we open this image up into the objects and animation screen to make a start, 7 seconds slide duration is not going to give us anywhere near the time we need to show two separate videos. So what I'm going to do on this occasion, because I haven't done any planning yet, I'm just going to make a bit of a guess. So I'm just going to put certainly enough seconds in here that should cover what I need to do. So I'm going to put 40 seconds into that, and then I'm going to open that up into the objects and animation screen. Straight away we can go and get those two videos. Click into the grey area. I'm going to go to my little video option here. Now we can pick these up one at a time because we're going to need to have them as parent and child, or we can just select them both together and make the parent and child within the objects and animation screen, which is what I'll do. So there's the two open. I'll just select both of them for the moment and both of the keyframes, because what you'll notice PicturesToExe's done, really this video shouldn't be filling the screen there, should it? Because it's now 1024 pixels on the long side, not 1920. So we need to go to the animation tab. We can either go to the zoom 100% and click the original size, but there is another way to do this. We can right click either the X or the Y, and you'll see an original size there too. So when we select it, there's the size of the videos we reduced, and I think they look quite nice within the surrounding of that background. So let's think about the parent and child relationship. What I mean here is I'm going to animate one of these videos, but when it turns round, the video on the reverse is going to take on exactly the same animation. That becomes the child of the parent. So I'm going to choose which video I want to be the first on screen. If I want it to be the Joey, then I can always make the kangaroo the child of the Joey, or I can just hit the control key and page up, and I can switch things around. But what I want to do is I want to have the other one arrive on screen first. So I'm going to select the kangaroo with the Joey, right click, cut it, select the kangaroo, right click and paste. Now you can see the parent and child relationship. You'd also see that it's come up a little small, so we may have to visit one of these options, right click and choose original size, and just for the moment what I'm going to do, I'm just going to temporarily hide the kangaroo with the Joey just by taking down the opacity, because it's the main kangaroo image where we've got to do most of the work, and we'll look at the other one when we get to it. Now before we start doing any more work, there is one thing I think I should do, and that is to mute the audio in both videos. The audio's not that attractive, but we certainly don't want to listen to that when we do any on-screen previews. So I'm going to select both of the videos, go to the Properties tab and mute them. So now we can think about the planning, and we're going to start with the kangaroo, which we're going to see first. So we've got our kangaroo video selected and the first keyframe. Here we've got the 2-second fade onto the screen of the background image. I think it's quite a nice image, that, and we could even animate it, I suppose. But I think this keyframe certainly needs to allow a 3-second gap from when this is fully on screen. So this first keyframe needs to be set around the 5-second mark. And at that point, of course, this video shouldn't be seen. So let's drop the opacity down. But in actual fact, what we're going to be doing a little later is adjusting the offset of both of these videos so we can keep the video length to an absolute minimum. But once we've got the planning done, we'll know how long the videos need to be. Now on this particular occasion, I think I'll allow my video to appear from its transparent position here in 3 seconds. So the next keyframe, and I'm going to apply the keyframe with the insert key, and you'll notice when we insert a keyframe none of the options are turned on. So let's think about the time here. It's going to be set at 8 seconds to give us the 3 seconds fade on. But what I'm going to need to do is to go to the opacity, turn it on first, and then bring it back up. So that is what we want to see in our slideshow. So if the video is fully on screen at the 8-second point, how long do I want it running for? Well, it's a video, and it's quite a nice video. I'm going to give it 10 seconds. So my next keyframe that I'm going to insert needs to be at the 18-second point. And between those two keyframes, of course, we don't want anything to happen at all. But now we get to the interesting part, because between the next two keyframes, I need this to do a 360, no I don't, I need it to do a 180 revolution. How long do I want to give this video to do that? Well, I reckon 3, maybe 4 seconds maximum. I think 3 will be okay. So let's insert another keyframe. 18, 19, 20, 21 will do us nicely. So between this keyframe and this keyframe, we need this to rotate. Let's turn on the rotation. Now if I put a positive figure in, we'll rotate that way, and negative figure we'll rotate that way. I'm going to right click the Y and I'm going to put a positive 180 in here. But I'm also going to go back and do a preview here, because I'm going to suggest a couple of things are going to go a little bit wrong. When we're working with keyframes that we insert, the keyframes are not automatically turned on, and you can see one of the results here. Our video is rotating right from the first keyframe, which is not what we intended, and within the next few seconds you'll see the video come to a crashing stop, just freezes. Well, we'll be able to deal with that with the offset later. But why is our video rotating from here when we want it rotating between these two keyframes? Well, the simple answer is that these two keyframes for the rotation are turned off. If I select them, there you can see the rotate is off, and the same with that one. So what we're saying to PicturesToExe is to start the rotation from here, because here it's ticked, and here it's ticked. So all we need to do is to select these two and turn the rotate on, and we should be fine. There it is, fading nicely on screen and staying put, and when we get to this end, it'll rotate and show us the other image when we set that up. Now, just before we move on to the kangaroo with the Joey, we need to consider speed here. Between these 2 points, the image is going to rotate. We need some speed applied to this keyframe. It's rotation we're interested in, so add modifier, animation speed, and the one I want is smooth, because I want to see it start gently and finish gently. So one quick little test in the objects and animation screen to make sure I'm happy with that, because if I wasn't and I wanted to give this another second to 22 seconds, now's the time to do it. Let's take a look at that. It is a little bit more gentle, isn't it? So let's stay with 22 seconds. 4 seconds for that to rotate. Now let's think about the other video. I'm going to select both of them together. Now we know this keyframe controls or starts the control of the kangaroo with the Joey. We don't want this at all until we get to the 18-second point, because when it starts to revolve, that's when we want to see the other video. So already we can tell what the offset is if we needed to use the offset here. So what I need to do then is to go back to the opacity that I temporarily turned off before, and I'll double click to reset it. Because between this keyframe and this keyframe, we shouldn't see this, but we should see it as it revolves around. But if I move the cursor manually, we're seeing the kangaroo on both sides. The reason we're seeing that, and we're seeing it on the other side facing the wrong way. So what we've got to do are two things. First of all, with this keyframe selected, we've got to go to the rotate, right click, and I'm going to put a 180 into this. But it's still showing the kangaroo on both sides, but at least on that side it's showing it the right way round. What I need to do next is to go to my properties, because I need to say to the software, show the front side of that video but don't show the back side. Now if I put my cursor just before that point, there's the spinning around and the video is on the other side. Now of course the second video is 18 seconds into this particular technique, so we've actually run out of video before it's even started. But once again, the offset will take care of that in a few moments. Let's go back to our original kangaroo and continue with our planning. Because now we've got this one showing, we need it showing for 10 seconds, the same as the previous one. So I need another keyframe at 32-second point. And between this keyframe and this keyframe, nothing happens at all. Now before I go any further with the planning here, I think I'll stop and deal with the offset, because we start to get into a situation where we get a green square show up on screen, because what we're doing now is moving well past when both of the videos have actually come to a stop. Because remember, until we set the offset, the videos start from this point. So we know the offset for the kangaroos needs to be 5 seconds, because that's when we first start to see it. So it starts to run from 5 seconds. So let's select the kangaroos, go to the properties, and we need to set the offset for 5 seconds. You need to be a bit careful in here that you don't put 50 seconds rather than 5, but that's that. When we select the other one, we already determined, and it's easier if we see all of the keyframes, that the offset is 18 seconds, because we don't need to see that until that starts to revolve round. In fact, the offset could start working actually around about 20 seconds, because we're not going to see it till then. So why don't we put the offset in as 20 seconds here. Just being sure that I've deleted those 2 zeros. That looks okay, but I think we'd better just test it from the start, just to make sure it's all working as we intended it. There's the fade on screen. We can look at putting a little thin line around this in a moment. And we should have the spinning round to reveal the kangaroo and Joey. And I'm looking critically at this just to make sure we don't have the video stopping, but now we've put the offset in, we shouldn't have any problem, because we've still got more seconds than we actually need. So now all we've got to think about now is fading both of those videos off the screen. Let's get that done by selecting both of them so we can see all the keyframes, because the keyframe here, I think I'll give it 2 seconds to fade out. So I'm going to insert a keyframe there, and that needs to be at the 34-second point. And between this point and this point, I want to fade the video down, but I've also got to do the same thing with the kangaroo and the Joey. So I need a keyframe in there too, lined up with that one, and a keyframe there lined up with that one, and I need to fade that one out as well. Now look what happens when I put the cursor back here and press play. We can actually start to see through the kangaroo. We've got the same issue here that we showed just a few moments ago, where we had keyframes turned off. And the keyframes we're really interested in now are the opacity. And here's a little shortcut, nothing to do with what we're about to do, but just a way to make it easier. We can sometimes, and have the need to, select the first keyframe, hold the Shift key, select the last, and select every other one in between, because we could turn on all of the opacities in one go. So when I go back here, everything should be working fine. There's the fade on, there's the rotation to the kangaroo with the joey, and there's the fade off. I'm going to select both of the videos and go to my properties, add a border, maybe about 5 pixels, and that should look quite nice on screen. But there's something else we need to consider now, the actual length of the videos. Now, it may not be important for you to do what I'm about to do, and I think it will always have to be a personal choice, but I'm going to work out how much video I need so that I just crop them back to exactly what I need and no more. So if we think about our first video, we don't need it running until 5 seconds into this particular sequence because we've already set the offset for 5 seconds, so it doesn't start running till then. But we need it running until it gets to 20 seconds, halfway between these 2 points. So 5 from 20 gives us 15 seconds. When we look at the kangaroo with the joey, we don't actually want that starting to run until it gets to 18 seconds. But if you remember, we actually held it back until 20 seconds. So we could actually say we want from 20 seconds to 34. So we need 14 seconds. Why the difference between the two? Well, we brought this first one up over 3 seconds and we're taking it off the screen over 2. Coming out of the objects and animation screen into the slide list, you can see I've got an extra video in each of the 2 that we've been using, because I've just run this through the video converter again, and I've reduced this video to 15 seconds, and you'll notice it doesn't even adjust the converted version. It gives us a second converted version with the words converted after it. So this one now is, if you look down here, it's 19 seconds. This one is 15 seconds. Here's our joey, which was 20 seconds to start with, and here we only need 14 seconds. Not sure why it's showing us 13 there, because I cut it back to 14. Let's hope I haven't made a mistake, because what I'm going to suggest we do now is just switch these videos around. Fairly quick to do. Let's go back to the objects and animation screen. Let's select the kangaroos converted, go to the properties tab and the picture swap, in this case a video swap. We just need to make sure we identify the right one. That's the one. Select kangaroo with joey and do the same thing there, and that's this one. And to make sure I have got the settings correct, let's come out of this screen and we'll take a look at what we've got in the mini player. So the background image will fade on screen and we have 3 seconds to view it. There's the first of the videos, nice little white line. Of course you can put a drop shadow in there if you like, and you could soften the background as well. Lots of options available to us. Then we get the spinning round to the kangaroo with the joey. This is the one that I need to look very carefully at, but I think I've got it right. I think it's just a rounding issue between the 13 and the 14, and that looks okay to me. Now, just for pure interest, I created 2 executable files as I went through the creation of this video. One included the video insets with the original sizes of 19 seconds and 20 seconds, and one where we reduced them to 15 seconds and 14 seconds. The difference between the 2 files is 5 megabyte. Now you may think that 5 megabyte isn't a great deal, but we've only got 3 images and a couple of videos here. This demo slideshow could quite easily be 10 times the length it currently is, and then we would have 50 megabyte more in this slideshow than we really needed.